At Camp David, President Benjamin is sparring with Mike, the Secret Service agent in charge of the Presidential Protection Division and a former Army Ranger. The president's wife, Margaret, and his son, Connor, are also present as the family prepares for a charity event. Mike, who is more than just an employee, but a close family friend, assists with every detail. When the time comes for the event, heavy snowfall complicates the trip. Mike organizes his team, splitting the family into two vehicles, Benjamin and Margaret in a limousine, while Connor and Mike follow in an SUV. Disaster strikes when a branch falls on the lead vehicle, causing it to skid and block the road. The chaos escalates as a Secret Service SUV plummets off a bridge, and the limousine ends up teetering on the edge. Margaret is injured and unconscious, and while Mike and the bodyguards work to stabilize the car, Benjamin refuses to leave without his wife. Mike is forced to cut Benjamin's seatbelt and drag him to safety moments before the limo plunges, tragically killing Margaret and the driver. 18 months later, Mike struggles with guilt and isolation, straining his relationship with his wife. He has been reassigned to the Treasury Department, no longer part of the presidential security team. Director of the Secret Service Lynn explains that Benjamin doesn't hold Mike responsible for Margaret's death, but removed him because his presence was a painful reminder. Meanwhile, Benjamin is consumed by growing international tensions. Concerned advisors urge him to address escalating conflicts between North and South Korea. Hoping to prevent war, Benjamin agrees to meet South Korean Prime Minister Lee at the White House. Security around the area tightens for Lee's arrival, with his entourage including a surprising figure, former U.S. Secret Service agent Dave. In North Virginia, a large gunship is intercepted by two fighter jets, but instead of complying, it retaliates, shooting down the jets and causing them to crash into civilian homes. The gunship then heads toward Washington, D.C., prompting an emergency alarm at the White House. President Benjamin and Prime Minister Lee are rushed to a secure bunker while visitors and staff are evacuated. The guards take up defensive positions as rooftop turrets prepare for action. The gunship reaches the city, unleashing devastating firepower that kills thousands of civilians and overwhelms ground forces. Watching from his office, Mike sees chaos erupt until his building is evacuated. Despite the White House defenses, the gunship's advanced shield deflects all attacks. Amid the carnage, Mike stays behind to help civilians escape. When the gunship targets the White House, killing all visible guards, an American jet arrives, firing a missile powerful enough to breach its defenses. The gunship is hit, crashing into the Washington Monument, which collapses, causing further destruction and civilian casualties. As calm briefly returns, Mike approaches the White House to assess the damage, but chaos resumes when a bus explodes, triggering nearby cars to detonate. Amid the panic, Mike spots two suspicious Korean men approaching the White House gate. He shoots one, but the other detonates explosives, creating a breach. Suddenly, undercover North Korean terrorists, who infiltrated with Prime Minister Lee's arrival, reveal themselves. Launching gas grenades and rockets, they destroy the White House's front security and storm the grounds. A fierce battle erupts between the Secret Service and the terrorists, with heavy casualties on both sides. Even the guard dogs are released but tragically killed in the firefight. Amid the chaos, Mike joins the fray, fighting relentlessly to repel the attackers, killing as many as he can while the conflict rages on. A sniper emerges, targeting police officers with deadly precision, but Mike spots her and takes her down with a headshot. As chaos escalates, the Pentagon dispatches military reinforcements. Meanwhile, in the White House bunker, Dave reveals himself as a traitor, betraying his former colleagues. Lee's men, who are also terrorists, join him in a violent uprising. A brutal fight breaks out, and the Koreans gain the upper hand, swiftly eliminating most of the president's staff. Kang, the terrorist leader, assaults President Benjamin, choking and beating him. Outside, two trucks carrying additional terrorists arrive, pursued by the police. Amidst the turmoil, Mike sneaks into the building, only to witness the death of an old friend. The Koreans suddenly drop to the ground, giving Mike a moment to hide. However, when the truck doors open, gunners unleash a deadly barrage, killing most of the agents and cops in seconds. The few survivors retreat inside, sealing the doors, but the Koreans use a missile to blast them open. Mike barely makes it inside, witnessing the brutal deaths of two fellow agents right in front of him. Forced to suppress his grief, he quickly hides as the Koreans storm the building, bringing another truck loaded with weapons to fortify their assault. In the bunker, a Korean hacker takes control of the White House systems, initiating an external lockdown to trap everyone inside. Gunfights erupt throughout the building as terrorists systematically sweep through corridors and rooms, killing every remaining guard in their path. The situation spirals further into chaos as the invaders solidify their hold over the White House. At the Pentagon, communication with the Secret Service is lost, confirming that the White House has been overrun. Military forces surround the building but are unable to penetrate the lockdown. News reporters arrive on the scene, broadcasting the crisis and alarming the nation. Suddenly, a video call from the White House bunker shocks the Pentagon staff as they witness Lee's execution live.
Sir, can you hear me?
Kang, the terrorist leader, threatens to kill President Benjamin next unless the soldiers back down, leaving the Pentagon with no choice but to comply. After the call, Dave orders Benjamin to raise his hands, and when he hesitates, a staff member is killed to force his cooperation. Benjamin's hands are then tied to a railing. On the roof, the terrorists lower the American flag and deploy a drone, solidifying their occupation of the White House. Meanwhile, Mike navigates through the carnage-filled corridors, finding the bodies of his fallen coworkers. In the darkness, he storms the control room and kills a Korean guard with a knife, taking his weapon. Mike's fury intensifies when he discovers a photo of Connor among the terrorists' belongings. Using a confidential password, he accesses a secure safe, retrieves a special device, and activates it with his thumbprint, effectively shutting down the White House systems and locking out the hacker. Back in the bunker, Kang reveals his true motive to Benjamin, not to launch nuclear weapons but to end his country's civil war and protect its civilians. Dave pledges his allegiance to Kang, prompting Benjamin to headbutt him in anger. Kang stops further retaliation and orders his men to continue searching for Connor. Mike reaches the Oval Office and uses his password to access a secure safe containing an emergency phone. He contacts the Pentagon, where Speaker of the House Allen has assumed the role of acting president. Despite initial skepticism from the military due to Mike's dismissal from the Secret Service, Lynn vouches for him, and Allen reminds everyone that Mike may be our only hope. While retrieving more hidden weapons from the office furniture, Mike updates them on the heavily armed terrorists, explosives, and the lockdown preventing external help. He insists the Pentagon must rely on him to resolve the crisis. Just then, a terrorist bursts into the room, sparking a brutal hand-to-hand fight. Mike eventually kills the intruder with a Lincoln statue. Meanwhile, Kang calls the Pentagon, demanding the recall of the 7th Fleet, withdrawal of American troops from the demilitarized zone, and a helicopter, threatening to kill Benjamin and the remaining staff if his demands aren't met. Allen and Lynn debate their options, knowing compliance could destabilize South Korea within 72 hours. Back in the bunker, Kang forces the chairman of the Joint Chiefs to reveal his Cerberus code, bringing the terrorists closer to gaining control of the U.S. nuclear arsenal. Mike discovers a tattoo on a dead terrorist and reports it to the Pentagon, who confirms that the first Cerberus code has been activated. The only way to stop the process is to manually change the codes in the bunker. Realizing the terrorists plan to use Connor to coerce Benjamin into revealing his code, Allen orders Mike to locate and protect the boy. Though the bunker's systems are disabled, the hacker accesses old security footage and spots Mike sneaking through the White House. Kang sends his men after him. Mike, meanwhile, discovers a secret passage in the president's bedroom walls where he finds Connor. After sending a message to the Pentagon, Mike prepares for the inevitable confrontation. As Kang orders his men to search the secret passages, gunfire erupts. Mike shields Connor, killing one of the terrorists while ensuring the boy's escape. Mike and Connor emerge into another room through a hidden passage, and Mike carefully clears the area before leading Connor toward the basement. He removes a lid to reveal a shaft, sending Connor down and alerting the Pentagon to monitor a specific entrance. Time is critical since terrorists are stationed outside, guarding the ventilation shafts. When a Korean terrorist enters the basement, Mike hides and ambushes him, choking him to death. Connor continues through the tunnel, eventually emerging unnoticed through a grill concealed by garden plants. Two American soldiers retrieve him and take him to safety. Once the Pentagon confirms Connor's rescue, Allen tasks Mike with saving the president. Allen also appears on national TV to assure the public that the situation is under control. Mike moves through the White House hallways, ambushing two terrorists. After subduing and tying them up, he interrogates them for information. When they mock him, Mike kills one and injures the other to extract details. The surviving terrorist reveals Kang's identity, explaining he leads the paramilitary group Koreans for United Freedom. He shares that Kang orchestrated the breach with 40 commandos, of whom 28 remain. Mike relays this to the Pentagon, who recognized Kang as a wanted global terrorist, though his face was previously unknown. Kang's tragic history, his father's execution by North Korea and his mother's death by an American landmine, fuels his desire for revenge against both nations. Despite the Army's wish to attack, Lin and Mike emphasize that the lockdown prevents any external breach, convincing them to allow Mike to continue reconnaissance. As terrorists plant explosives throughout the White House, Mike navigates its corridors, only to be taunted by Kang over the phone. Kang mocks Mike for failing to save Margaret and warns he'll harm his wife next. After Mike hangs up, Kang sends Dave to confront him and begins torturing the Secretary of Defense for her Cerberus code. Unable to bear her suffering, Benjamin orders her to reveal it, promising Kang will never obtain his. With the code entered, the Pentagon detects the activation. Meanwhile, Mike encounters a shadowy figure in the basement and instinctively slams it against the wall, only to discover it's Dave. Unaware of Dave's betrayal, Mike engages in conversation until Dave inadvertently mentions Kang's name, raising Mike's suspicion. A brutal fight ensues between the two. Dave gains the upper hand momentarily, disarming Mike and attempting to stab him. However, Mike counters, overpowering Dave and stabbing him with his own knife. After incapacitating Dave, Mike demands an explanation. Dave confesses he lost his way, and Mike offers him a chance at redemption. He hands Dave his phone, suggesting he fake Mike's death to mislead Kang. Dave accepts his fate, and Mike ends his suffering. The Pentagon informs Mike that time is running out to stop the nuclear launch, forcing them to initiate an aerial assault on the White House. As preparations for the airstrike intensify, Mike presses forward, determined to protect the president and stop Kang's plans. The tension escalates as both sides prepare for a final confrontation. With Connor safe but Benjamin still in danger, the clock ticks relentlessly, leaving little margin for error in Mike's desperate mission to thwart the terrorists and prevent catastrophic destruction. The hacker locates Mike and Connor using her radar, prompting the guards on the lower floors to prepare their heavy weaponry. Sneaking into the cargo room, Mike discovers the terrorists possess Hydra 6, a cutting-edge American weapon stolen and repurposed by the Koreans. Despite this revelation, the military leaders of the Pentagon refuse to cancel the aerial assault. As terrorists enter the cargo room, Mike engages them in a gunfight, trying to neutralize the threat while keeping an eye on Hydra 6. However, the weapon is activated and shoots down a helicopter, sending it crashing. The remaining aircraft attempt evasive maneuvers, targeting the White House roof to eliminate the terrorists stationed there, but several soldiers are shot down. Amid the chaos, Mike eliminates the last guard in the cargo room, steals a rocket launcher, and heads to the roof. Hydra 6 continues its rampage, shooting down another helicopter, leaving only 2 remaining. Allen considers aborting the mission, but before he can act, the final helicopters are also destroyed. Mike reaches the roof just in time to fire a rocket, destroying Hydra 6. As he tries to escape, a helicopter crashes into the White House, causing a massive explosion and inflicting severe damage. In the aftermath, Kang contacts the Pentagon and executes the vice president as retribution for the attack, threatening to kill Benjamin next unless his demands are met within 60 minutes. Allen informs Mike of their intention to recall the troops, but Mike persuades him to delay the decision for 30 minutes, promising to resolve the crisis. Before moving forward, Mike takes a moment to reassure his wife that he's still alive and determined to end the nightmare. Mike calls Kang to inform him his defeat is imminent, then blocks the bunker's communication system. Furious, Kang drags the Secretary of Defense to the front door, intending to execute her publicly. However, a hidden Mike intervenes, shooting one of the terrorists and creating chaos. While the distracted group fires at Mike, the secretary escapes and is rescued by the army. Mike continues eliminating terrorists using a sniper rifle until he runs out of bullets, switching to a handgun for close combat. Despite his efforts, Kang retreats to the bunker, prompting Allen to believe the battle is lost. The Pentagon recalls the 7th Fleet, and the move, widely broadcast, raises fears of escalating global conflict. When Kang sees his demands met, he prepares to leave, disguising the hostages and his men identically to confuse American snipers. Moments after their helicopter takes off, it explodes, leaving the Pentagon in despair, believing the president is dead. However, Mike suspects a ruse and begins searching for Kang. Mike's instincts prove correct as he discovers Kang still in the bunker with Benjamin, using him as leverage. The terrorists hack the final Cerberus code, setting the nuclear arsenal to detonate within minutes. To escape, Kang detonates pre-planted explosives, creating a pathway, but Mike intercepts them. He quickly dispatches 2 terrorists and engages a third in hand-to-hand combat, breaking his neck. Meanwhile, Benjamin confronts Kang, leading to a struggle for a gun that accidentally wounds the president. As Benjamin collapses, Mike attacks Kang, delivering a flurry of punches. Kang escalates the fight with knives, but Mike deflects his attacks and disarms him. With seconds left on the nuclear countdown, the brutal battle continues. Mike manages to wound Kang critically, but the terrorist fights back until a momentary distraction allows Mike to overpower him, break his arm, and fatally stab him. With Kang defeated, Mike rushes to the computer and follows Pentagon instructions to deactivate Cerberus, averting disaster. As dawn breaks, Mike and a wounded Benjamin emerge from the battered White House, reuniting with Connor and signaling victory. Mike embraces his wife amid the aftermath, while an American flag is hoisted back on the roof. The nation begins its long journey of recovery, and Mike is reinstated as head of the presidential security team, a fitting acknowledgement of his heroism.